everybody, and welcome to our Facebook Live coming to you from the British Council Teaching English Facebook page. My name is Karen, and today we are talking about climate discussions at ELT conferences. Perhaps some of you have been to conferences, but for some of us, it's a little bit difficult to go to them. So we have invited 3 experts about climate and ELT who go to conferences, and they're going to tell us all about what everyone is talking about at the conferences. So let's meet our guests. We have Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hello, everybody.
And we have Tatjana Slijepcevic. And hi, Maria Diakou.
Hello, everyone.
So, Chris, can you tell us a little bit about where you are at the minute?
Well, I'm actually in Scotland at the moment, sitting in my study. If you want to be precisely where I'm at, I thought you might say that, yes. But yeah, I live in a remote part of Scotland, and it gets quite cold here.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
and Tatjana, whereabouts are you?
I'm currently in my home city, in my hometown, Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina, but I'm based in Belgrade in Serbia.
Oh, fantastic. So you've got like a foot in 2 places. And Maria, where are you?
And I am in Cyprus, more specifically in Limassol, which it has a very, very nice sunshine.
Oh, so wonderful. So welcome, teachers. Do tell us where you're joining us from. And we are here talking about climate discussions at ELT conferences. So Chris, let's start with you. What is your involvement with climate and English language teaching?
Well, okay. I mean, my background is teacher education, CPD, and particularly working in challenging and fragile environments around the world as a teacher education. I also write books and things. But I've been involved in the kind of intersection between ELT and climate change for about 5 or 6 years now, as one of the founders of ELT Footprint, which was started to try and draw awareness to the opportunities and responsibilities that the ELT community has in terms of climate change and broader sustainability. And I continue to work extensively in that area. And I'm Vice President of IATEFL, and I'm also leading on the Green IATEFL initiative. So, yeah, I'm involved in a number of angles with the climate sustainability in ELT.
Fantastic. Thanks, Chris. And Tatjana, what's your involvement in climate and English language teaching?
Yeah, I am English Connects or Teaching English lead at the British Council, and I lead on this program for our region called Wider Europe. I'm responsible for 15 countries. And since we are working with teachers, we are providing a lot of teacher training. This was one of the topics that started being more and more popular. And we supported a couple of conferences about this very topic, a couple of teachers associations who were working with other teachers, with school, to raise awareness of how can you link sustainability or climate action to what you are teaching and what you are doing in your classroom.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tatjana. And Maria, what about you?
And I have been working as a deputy head for the Cyprus Ministry of Education, teaching basically English as a second language in primary education. But at the same time, I have been part-time, of course, working for the University of Nicosia and Frederick University, preparing future teachers. So I have been involved in different conferences, seminars, and programs preparing teachers to teach languages. And also the last 2 years, I have been the coordinator of the Learning Technologies Special Interest Group, which gave me the opportunity to work with colleagues in different conferences.
Thank you so much, Maria. And let's have a little shout out to the teachers who are joining us. We have Sumia here from Qatar, and we have Tatjana, can you read that one?
Usarkul.
Okay,
Sounds
thanks.
like
And we have Konduru from India. And hi, Salam, lovely to see you here. And we have teachers from Somaliland and also from Argentina, all over the world.
Oh, hello, Marcela.
You recognize some of the names?
I know Marcela, yes.
Yes, and we have Vietnam, and we also have a teacher from Manoni from Georgia. Yeah. Here Salam is saying, this is a big topic and we hope to get more applicable ideas for upper primary. Let's hope so, Salam. Let's hope so. So let's start off, Chris. You have recently been to a couple of conferences, one online and one face-to-face. What general themes are teachers talking about or people talking about in terms of climate and English language teaching?
I suppose the first thing to say is that they are now talking about it. I mean, I don't know, maybe until about 6 years ago, there was very little awareness of any interconnectivity between ELT and sustainability. I think so it wasn't really on the agenda. There were a few talks at some conferences. But now I'm glad to say it's very firmly on the agenda at most conferences that I go to as a speaker or that I see the agenda for. It's getting high up the agenda, sustainability and ELT. But I suppose you can divide the topics up into two categories, so they are often combined. Category number one looks at what the ELT community can do to reduce its negative impact on the environment. Issues around how we use energy, electricity, water, gas, issues around how we use resources like paper, and around travel, the impact that travel, moving students around, moving teachers around has on the environment. So there's that side, the mitigation. And the other side is looking at the opportunities in class that teachers can have, or perhaps responsibilities rather than opportunities that teachers have to support their students in engaging with the climate crisis. But they're not teaching climate science. I want to make that clear. Most English teachers are not scientists, we're English teachers, but we're giving students the tools to engage with the climate discussion. So there's two things. There's mitigation on one side and education on the other side. That's what I would say.
That's a really excellent summary. Yeah, with the two aspects, one sort of quite a big aspect that like a school might be involved in, and then another aspect that teachers might be involved in. And so, Tatjana, for you work quite closely with teachers. When you go to the conference, what are some of your takeaways looking at things from a teacher perspective, or that can help teachers?
I would say it's a bit of a surprise for teachers because this is not a very popular topic. And usually there are some questions mark. How come that we are discussing sustainability or climate action at ELT conferences? Shouldn't we be discussing grammar or some teaching strategies? And you can see that there is a shift, a good one, and there is more awareness. And teachers start understanding better and better that they can really play with the curriculum, and it doesn't have to be just grammar or maybe some poetry. That is all fine, but there is much more space, and the classroom is such an amazing space and platform to link what we are experiencing on a daily basis to what you are teaching, and how can you become a more active and responsible citizen. And definitely climate action is such a hot topic. So I think that this is where we are witnessing the biggest mindset change and increased responsibility. And I believe that once you break it down to small pieces, digestible pieces, it really becomes very clear, and it is very nicely embraced by the teachers. They can nicely and gradually introduce this as a teaching unit.
Thanks, Tatjana. I think that's a very good point about breaking things down. Like as teachers, we do quite like having things in steps.
Yes.
Maria, we've got quite a lot of questions coming in already, and I wonder if I can bring this one up. You work with where's the yes, here. Oh, first of all, we've just done a poll. Marcus just did a poll there on, do you integrate green issues into your classes? And for those of people who are watching with us, 93% do. Maria, is that a surprising number for you?
No, it's not a surprising number, Karen, because, I always say that I consider myself really very lucky being at the same time in the classrooms and at the university level, working with teachers preparing to enter classrooms. So I can see what are the problems teachers are facing in the classrooms and what are the issues teachers working to prepare at university level are facing. So I can see that through the last few years, teachers are getting more and more interested in applying environmental education lessons through their teaching. And this is really very important. They can see how important is their role concerning sustainability and climate change and how they can support students through this journey. But at the same time, it's very interesting to see how we, as teacher trainers, we can support also teachers to be able to do so in the classroom. So it's really complicated, but it's true that teachers are showing more and more interest in the theme.
That's fantastic, because the theme, it's not exactly a new theme, but now, Chris, you mentioned at the beginning, like the fact that it's now on the table is a great shift. We have a question here from Carter. Sorry, Tatjana, it's covering you.
That's fine.
So Carter asks, how can English language teachers integrate climate change awareness into their curriculum to not only teach language skills, but also empower students as global citizens in addressing environmental challenges? Any takers?
Well, I've got an opinion on that, I think.
Great.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I think I might have seen Tatjana's hand. She's hidden though. It's a great question, Carter. Actually, it's also something of a hot potato question, I think, because if we can in our classes increase awareness of climate and sustainability issues, we can give students tools, for example, developing things like critical thinking, communication skills, the so-called 21st century skills. We can give them a lot of skills to understand and engage, at least in class, with the topics. But to what extent do we want to make our students engage outside of class in the real world with sustainability and climate topics? People have said to me, do we want to make our students into climate warriors? Do we want them to make demonstrations? Do we want them to go out on marches? Do we want them to go on climate strikes? Do we want to give them the tools to take direct action? I don't know the answer to this, but I think it's absolutely, we're now at a pivotal point when we're deciding, is what we're doing in class enough? Is it enough for students to understand about the problems of deforestation? Is it enough for students to understand about desertification, countries going back to desert status? Or do we actually need them to engage with the causes of the climate crisis? Because a lot of ELT and climate stuff does not engage with the causes, it engages with the results. Big question.
Big question, and like you say, hot potato question.
Yeah.
And I guess now that this topic is sort of finally coming into the arena for discussion, these are all questions that might not have immediate answers, but they're good questions to start thinking about. Tatjana, have you got any? Oh, no, Maria, yes, go ahead. Yes, please. No, Maria, go ahead.
What I wanted to add to what Chris has just said is that we want our students actually to know that their classroom and their school and their community are all connected with the world and that they are citizens of this world. So it's not just being in a classroom, it's just being involved in real, actual projects, real world projects. That's really very important for our students.
Yeah, so it's not just, kind of in isolation in the classroom, right? Yeah. Tatjana, what kind of work are you doing with the teachers that in your areas to help them incorporate some of these issues into the classroom?
Yeah. Just to say that this morning I was monitoring a teacher training face-to-face. So you can understand that I'm very, very inspired. And one of the things that we were discussing, it was PBL, project-based learning. And this could be a trajectory and way to introduce climate action in a more concrete way. And the good side of it, it can really be related to what both Maria and Chris said, real world problems like our community problems, and it is also allowing English language teachers and other subject teachers to sit together with their students and put together a good project and good solutions together. So I believe that one of the ways to start doing more when it comes to climate action, whether we are talking about causes or results or consequences, it could be through school projects.
Excellent. Yes. So again, it's like taking it from the classroom in with other classes, because I think up until now, teachers are often, we think about me and my class in a kind of small bubble. I just wanted to say hi to a few more teachers who are joining us. We have Violka from Albania, and we have Khalid from from Oman, and we have Maria from Argentina. And we also have Oksana from Ukraine. We have a question from Khalid. Let me just find it now. First of all here, going back to the point that you were making, Chris, Maria says, these are good questions to ask our students, actually. They might have the answers.
They might have, but the problem with pushing out of the classroom is it's very easy, and I've been accused this many times myself, to be seen as political. You're being political, and that's when the potato gets particularly hot. But I'm sorry for stretching that analogy too far, but I really do think we need, and I think actually Carter put a question up saying, challenging me slightly about, I said that you can engage to a certain extent. It is to a certain extent. It depends where you live and where you work. I think on the geopolitical, cultural climate. That's what I meant by a certain extent.
Yes, by a certain
there
extent.
It is. Found them, yeah. The limits are external and also possibly institutional or ministerial within you. It depends where you work, basically.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. So be careful. Here's a question from Khalid. My students carried out a competition in making the school beautiful using recycled materials to make vases to plant flowers. It was nice to see them working very hard, and their families helped them do that. What do you think about this as a project for a class to do? Maria or Tatjana?
Yeah. Let me just say this, because I see the word families. So it takes me to a project we had been working on in a school I was working, which had this involvement of families in school, which is really very important, actually. So we had parents invited to school, and we had parents working with students in the classrooms, which was really brilliant. And that was a multicultural school. So we had all different cultures in school, and they were sharing ideas, and they were working on projects together. And you could see that these parents were really happy because they were given the opportunity to give something to the community. So it was really interesting. It was a very interesting project, and I would definitely do it again, because they were both working together with their children, with their kids in school, and it was amazing. The results were great. So it's really important to involve families in projects.
And again, I think that it seems like a theme that is coming through some of our discussions is broadening out from the classroom to the school, to the families, and to be involved in the community. So for teachers who are just joining us, we are talking about climate discussions at ELT conferences, and we're talking with Chris, Tatjana, and Maria, who have been to conferences about what things people are talking about. And I think Chris summarized it very well a little while ago in terms of two areas. One, about the ELT community as a whole, the larger community, and the other aspect of teachers and the classrooms. And we're sharing ideas with you about types of projects that are happening around the world. And I wanted to bring up another one here. This one is from Najet. I am an English teacher in Tunisia. We have a module dealing with the environment and health. Personally, I focus on solutions that pupils can do to be as active participants. We start looking for real actions at home, at school, and in their cities. As you were mentioning, Maria, that like brings in both. They prepare projects in groups to present them in front of their classmates. So Tatjana, have you got any comments on that type of project that Najet is talking about?
I would definitely say a big yes to those kind of projects. But one thing about recycling, this is an idea that we hear a lot about, but sometimes maybe we need to think, do we need to reach the stage of recycling? Maybe because recycling very often happens because of the consumption. And of course, there are some things that we just need to consume, but people do not often think that much about fashion. And this is like a big contributor in a negative sense, unfortunately, to the climate change. So sometimes just thinking about, do I need another t-shirt? Do I really need new pair of boots? That can also be very helpful not to reach the stage where we need to recycle. So I think this discussion also needs to happen among the classroom communities.
So that's a discussion that is, rather than looking at a solution, you're going back to the causes, like what you were talking about, Chris, as well. And I think that resonates with, here's a comment from Arindam. We can teach our students about the practical solutions of global warming and climate change, but I think what you were saying, Chris, is you need to go back to look at some of the causes around.
I think we really do. I mean, I think that the project in Tunisia is really interesting, and I think the idea at family level and home level of getting kids to go home to mum and dad and say, why are we still using plastic bags to go to the market? Why aren't we using cloth bags? Or when you collect me from school, why do you leave the car engine running? That sort of stuff is important, but it's not going to create real change. Real change is much bigger than that. Real change is at national, governmental, intergovernmental level. And that and going back to my point before, and I think this is what Carter's been getting at a couple of his comments there.
Yes.
To what extent do we have a role in that? Because, just frankly, one family, 1,000 families recycling, it's not going to make much difference. The problems are much, much bigger than that.
They are, and I think, go on.
It comes with that responsibility. And I was waiting for Carter's question.
Yes, so here's Carter's question. And this is a question I have as well for these huge, big global conferences where everybody flies. How can we reconcile the environmental impact of global ELT conferences and teacher mobility with the urgent need to promote sustainability in education? Any answers?
I think it's a very good question, because we did have COP29 recently and so many people flew in. So I think looking at the cost benefit analysis, thinking, as Chris said, do I really need to travel? Will I be more effective and will I contribute more if I stay home and do something in my local community? What are the odds if we are looking at the carbon footprint and maybe electronic waste management, things like that? And I would agree with Chris that this is a two-way street, and if you can just buy bottled water in plastic bottles, then whatever you do will not have these effects that we want to see. So I think it needs to be, all of these questions needs to be looked at from different angles, from the policy level and also from what we are doing at the very ground level. So I do not have an answer to that. I personally love traveling, but I also think it requires some critical thinking. Do we need, and also for all of us to be more active as citizens, whether through campaigns or whatever. A lot of changes are really coming if we put the two together.
So here's a question that might sort of bring all of these aspects together. From Aridam, can you suggest a project on global warming? So let's say we've seen lots of schools and lots of teachers do projects around recycling and environmental awareness, and that has all been very, very, very good. Now you're saying that we need to go to the next level and look at the causes and help students understand the causes and think about being active global citizens. So for a teacher coming into the classroom to do a project on global warming, for example, what aspects would you include in a project for the teacher that can bring in these elements? Maria, do you have any idea?
Yeah, well, let me just say a few things about a project we had been working on. Even though, of course, it's what Tatjana said before, it's a bit, confusing in my mind, I would say, because, okay, those who know me, they know that I love technology. I have been using technology in my teaching. I try, actually, in the last few years to use technology only when it is necessary, because I see that there is an environmental impact. But the project we had been working on, it was a collaboration with teachers and students from around the world. And we had been working online on creating like a kind of blogs and posters, working together and share Google Docs. And we had been working on a collaboration. But then I come back and I say, okay, that was great opportunity for my students. They were talking and they were discussing different issues with students from around the world. But what was the carbon footprint of this whole process? So it's what I said before, it's a bit confusing. Am I doing it the right way? Is it the way I'm working? Am I affecting the environment? It's really confusing sometimes. But the opportunity that the students had to talk with other students and see what they are doing in their countries is really very important.
I think this comment here from Maria sums it up quite well. Change needs time to happen. We educate the leaders of the future. So at some point in the future, our students who will have developed environmental awareness with our help will hopefully change things. Let's hope so.
I'm not sure we've got time, though.
Okay. Yes, that's true. Tell us more, Chris.
Well, California.
Briefly.
Wherever you look, basically. Can I just go back to global warming thing, Karen, for a second? Yeah, there was a question there about global warming.
Yes,
I think one of the challenges is a lot of people talk about global warming without actually realizing what the impacts are, why it's a bad thing. Most of the impacts around global warming, or many of them, are around water. Too much water or not enough water. And I think if we work with our students and discuss the negative impacts, particularly in the global south, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, of excessive water, floods, or not enough water, drought, and the impact it has particularly on younger people, or those in education, on women, on older people. Once people start to understand the impacts of this, they begin to get angry. And one of my bits of thinking at the moment is when our students are angry about the issues, they're much more likely to engage with them. And there's quite a lot of research that I've been recently reading saying people who are angry about the climate crisis will engage with it. So it's a very odd thing to say, but if we can make our students a little bit angry, I think we might be getting somewhere. That's what you were talking about with controlled anger. Yeah, and it came up in the session with Maria as well, and I thought I was the only person in the world who'd ever thought of it, and I did some research, and there's a team in Australia who's done a lot of work on it, and it's really, really interesting. If students think we can't have 1,000 children a day, which is what UNICEF say, dying from water-related issues, 1,000 babies a day, we can't have that. I'm furious about that. there's your motivation.
Well, definitely, I know from here where we are, we've had a drought for the last few years, and so it's meant that a lot more people are talking about it because it affects right now, right outside our classroom. Outside the classroom, we can look out of the window, and so we can incorporate that into, a bigger discussion. And there was something else I just started. There's so many comments coming through here. Where was it? Yes, here. So going back to the point about technology, Maria, that you were talking about, this is one from Rakna who is saying, so what can we do with technology then to preserve our environment if we're using it all the time and it has this huge impact? Or are we just still at the stage of asking a lot of questions?
So the question is whether we can integrate technology or whether we shouldn't be integrating technology, I suppose.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, technology is a part of our life. I mean, even if we are not using technology at school, kids use technology at home. But what I always say is that you have to use technology wisely. Technology is just a tool. So it gives added value to language learning. So if you don't need it, if you feel that it's not necessary and it's not going to give you this added value, then why should you use it? And I say again that I love technology, but I always try to make sure that it will make a difference. I mean, there's a reason I'm using technology, or else I try to stay at the basics, because I keep hearing all these going on. And I feel that me as a teacher, I have the power to affect the way students think. So if I'm doing it wrong, then my students will do it wrong as well. So we have to keep a balance, I say. Yes, I use technology, but whenever it is necessary and whenever it adds value to what we teach.
As Marcella says, we're using it at the moment.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. That's true. That's true. And Tatjana, we've had a couple of comments here from, this is a comment from Maria asking about, oh no, sorry, not that one. It was one about teacher training. It was, I'll find it in a minute. It was how, like, if you're working with teachers in a teacher training college or new teachers, how can you incorporate this into the curriculum so that they can then go out and this is part of a sort of, almost an everyday lesson? Because at the moment, a lot of these topics are separate. It's like, chapter 7 in the book, or now we're talking about climate, or we're doing a project on this. So how do you work with teachers to get this more integrated? I'll find the comment in a minute.
Okay, if in a lot of the countries that I'm working with, teachers have, say, 20 to 30% of the flexibility when it comes to the curriculum. So sometimes it's just a framework, but the content itself, it's up to the teachers or teachers and students. So if you are teaching, say, present simple or whatever teaching unit, it can be really teachers' choice or teachers and students' choice to decide on the content itself, on the topic itself. So I think we just need to be a bit creative and not to stick to what is prescribed. Mm-hmm. And very often we have STEM projects, STEAM projects. As I said, PBL is very popular. So if you, as a teacher, say English language teacher, just talk to your colleague who is teaching geography or biology or chemistry, hey, what are you doing? Can we just shift these teaching units around a bit? And then if your geography lesson would fit to what I was having in mind when it comes to English, I think it could be win-win. So I think that as teachers, as ELT practitioners, we need to get out of the box a bit and be more creative and be more proactive. I really think this is pretty easily done if you just look aside a bit. For example, at the British Council, we had a climate action course, and there are so many resources. So I believe a couple of clicks would give a lot of solution. But back to what Maria was saying, I think that a lot of things are starting with awareness, and when you know better, you do better. Personally, maybe a year ago, I was one of the people who would not print, and I was pretty much sure if I was not printing things out and if I was using electronic versions of whatever, I was doing quite a lot. And then I became aware of like, what about electronic waste management? Or just recently, I became aware that AI is amazing, but the number of prompts that you are making, they will also affect all types of consumption, and it will affect climate and so on and so on. So once again, when you know better or when you know more, you will do better. So I think the moment you start thinking about this and talking about it will move the needle, maybe not that much, step by step for sure.
When I think Chris will say it needs to move faster.
Well, yeah, I mean, the trouble with the impact of anything on the climate is it's so hard to measure, and you'll find one report that says it's X, another report that says the complete opposite. But some reading I've been doing, and also a few talks I've heard recently, suggests that at the moment the impact of AI is already worse than global aviation. And the impact of fast fashion has for a long time been worse than global aviation. Your cheap T-shirts are doing more damage than fine.
Yeah.
And that's staggering, because that really is something that's relatively easy to control or to manage, isn't it?
It is. And I mean, it sort of comes down to, like you were saying, Tatjana, I love that expression, when you know better, you do better. I think that's a fantastic slogan, not to put on a T-shirt, though.
But no, unless it's an old one.
Unless it's an old one, hand-painted. So, Chris, we're at the beginning of 2025. These are all topics that are coming up. We've got guessing conferences coming up in the future. What can teachers sort of expect of this year in terms of topics at conferences that impact them?
Well, I think they will expect a lot around the impact of AI. They're going to be getting a lot about AI itself, but I think now increasingly people are saying, actually, don't use AI in the way you use Google, because as Tatjana said, I don't use AI ever. I mean, I'm just quite low out. I don't. But it's learning how to use the prompts and not just and lots and lots and lots of them. That is really damaging. But learning how to use it, I think it will be around that. There's already talks around that. I think there will be work about climate activism, about to what extent we can encourage our students to be activists. And I think it will also, what we'll see at conferences is course books and materials with more climate-related content. I think publishers are now engaging with it much more, and they're integrating it rather than having just, Unit 7, Our Beautiful Planet. They're integrating it across. They're doing the SDGs to death. They're everywhere, unfortunately, but fine. I think we're going to see more in course books. And what I really hope is, this is my last rant, that we will see more work on sustainability in initial teacher training. People who do every CELTA will have a module, I hope, on sustainability. And every BA in English at Polish universities or German universities, wherever you like to go, Japanese universities will have that module. Because if we get young teachers, we're away. We're in business, aren't we?
Exactly.
If.
Or we can just say when. We can be positive. When.
All right. I'm not positive. I'll stick with if.
I am. So.
I'm an eternal pessimist. But.
And I think, like what Maria and Tatjana was saying earlier, integrating it into sort of teachers' mindsets and the curriculum and the school, and then it's all, yes. Tatjana, what, in your view, can teachers look forward to in 2025 in terms of climate action or sustainability? Or I don't really know what words to use, but maybe there's new words.
This is so multi-layered. I definitely think that the conversation is going to change, and we are changing it as we speak. AI definitely. But as we were discussing this, and recently I've been talking a lot about ethical use of AI in terms of like fact-checking, plagiarism, and so on. But to me now, a new perspective is like, yeah, we need to expand the discussion and we need to think about AI and climate action. So I personally would love to see the two, AI and climate action. It's so here, it's so around us, and it's not just like LA, it's happening there. It is really, you just look through the window, just both Belgrade and Sarajevo, so polluted these days, like scoring very high. So it's what we are facing on a daily level when you open the window. So I think that a positive side of this negativity that we are surrounded with, it's going to be that it is really, really affecting us, and that inevitably we will have to change something. And for me personally, it really always starts with education and awareness.
Ah, well said, Tatjana, well said. I'm just going to see if Maria...
I can hear you. I don't know why my camera is not working, is what we said before. It's technology. But
yes.
You can hear me. Anyway.
Already.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Maria.
Yeah, I don't know why my camera stopped working. Anyway, but
that's okay.
Yeah, since you can hear me, it's okay. But
it's okay.
So, yeah, what I would say is that we as teachers, it is our obligation to start planting that seed of sustainability. It's really very important because as educators, we have the opportunity in our classes to cultivate this future generation of green thinkers who will actually be the future of this world. So I take myself back to what I said before, that yes, we can use and we should use technology because it's a part of our life, or AI, but we have to be really very careful, and we have to make the difference. We have the power actually to inspire our students and to enable them to think for a better future. So it's in our hands and we need to work on it.
Very well said. I love, as a gardener, I love the ideas of sowing seeds.
Yeah.
Thank you all. The time has flown by. Lots and lots and lots of comments. Thank you everybody so much for joining us. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you found some good ideas, and more importantly, questions to think about and raise and start working with your schools. Just on a final note, Chris, is there, and Tatjana and Maria, is there, Maria, I'm just going to put you back down. I'll bring you back up in a minute. We talked before about a micro step. I love that idea. A micro step that teachers can do to, sort of the first step.
Yeah.
Go on, Tatjana. Oh, me.
Chris, go ahead. You're in the middle.
Tatjana's got more time to think. Yeah, I'm not sure about the micro. You say you're not supposed to question other people's questions, are you? I think we need to do some macro steps and look really. I mean, I noticed that somebody put there that I think he lives in Sweden and they've got no snow and it's green fields. And I've been speaking to people in the Balkans recently saying it's warm.
My daffodils are coming up.
Your daffodils are coming up, saying, look out the window. Actually see, if you live in the global north, it's not just the global south. It's coming your way. It's coming everyone's way. I don't know whether it's a micro step or macro step, but it's look out the window and think, what's happening? And there we are. There you are.
Exactly. As Brenda says, the topic is overarching and defining issue of our time.
Totally, Brenda, I'm with you.
Tatjana?
I would say maybe it can be whatever size of the step, but the important thing is to make the first step. And for us, it's important to lead by the example. As Maria said, we really need to provide good examples. And I think that we all need to think more. It may sound odd, but really just let's think, because personally I would catch myself brushing my teeth and having the water running. Exactly. I strongly personally believe it boils down to laziness. those kind of things. And if we meet those micro actions with some really high level policy interventions, then maybe we can change things for the better. And I'm somewhere in between pessimist and optimist. I want to be an optimist, but I think it's really, really high time we did something.
Well, thank you so much for Chris, Tatjana, and Maria, you're back. And for Maria, we can see you now. Thank you so much, Chris, Maria, and Tatjana, for joining us. Thank you so much, teachers, for joining us. We will see you all very soon. Have a lovely weekend and think about the questions.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you, Karen. Bye. Bye.